it's fast looking, isn't it, that Keir Starmer has picked a fight which, let's just say, he can't win, and by doing so, he's not only peed off the entire country more than, let's face it, he's done already, but he's bound to make certain that Labour will never get in again, or maybe, just maybe, his time as Prime Minister will be very, very short indeed. So what's going on then? Well, apparently according to this article it says, furious pensioners to take legal action over the winter fuel payment, which sounds awesome, doesn't it? And let's face it, the government, or governments in general rather, have been defeated in court before. I mean, we had that Gina Miller a few years ago took the government to court, didn't she? Trying to overturn Brexit, in my opinion. Although at the time she was saying, oh no, I just want to make sure things are done right. Or whatever she said, but let's face it, who put her in charge? And I'm betting that if anything, along with those MPs who campaigned for a second vote, would probably try to hold the government back further. But anyway, the article says that 2 pensioners have apparently launched a legal bid to overturn the winter fuel payment cuts. And so just who are these 2 heroes? Well, they are apparently Peter and Florence Fanning of Coatbridge, North Lancashire, and they are suing the UK and Scottish governments through the Gowan Law Centre, and it comes apparently as Sir Keir, no sir in my opinion, but Keir Starmer is facing ongoing backlash over plans to resurrect previously universal winter fuel payments to only those on pension credit, with the Scottish Government following suit. And I think the reason why Keir Starmer is very, very determined to get this done is not about helping to fill in this £22 billion mythical, in my opinion, black hole, because let's face it, 1.4 billion, which for what I've heard is what they said they're going to save, won't fill it up as the 11 point whatever billion of pounds it is that Ed Miliband wants to give away to overseas countries to help with their climate emergency, which, let's face it, we could really do with that money ourselves, couldn't we? But either way, the reason I think Keir is not willing to do it is because, let's face it, he's only been Prime Minister a little while, and for him to U-turn on such a big move or cut after this period of time in power wouldn't really do his authority much good at all, will it? And I think that is a real reason myself. However, speaking in Edinburgh on Thursday, Mr Fanning, who is 73, said, "We intend to sue both the London and Scottish governments since they are both guilty through action and inaction of damaging welfare of pensioners, and we are hoping to be successful, given the manifest injustice involved. However, my work as a trade unionist and shop steward has taught me that sometimes battles are worth fighting regardless of the outcome, and I believe this is one such battle, and I think, if anything, something like this could, even if he doesn't win, could cause Keir to actually lose that authority that he's so trying to keep hold of and do a massive ballydance and U-turn. But even better, if these guys did actually win and therefore Keir Starmer's Labour lose, then that surely would be a massive verbal kick in Labour's gonads, and therefore it will be a forced U-turn, won't it? And that will bound to damage Keir Starmer's authority much greater, in my opinion. But the judicial review, which has been raised at the Court of Succession, now requires a judge's approval to move to a hearing on the merits, and the Gowan Law Centre is seeking to expedite both the case and its application for legal aid to ensure the decision can be handed down before the winter. Which, let's face it, is when we really need it, isn't it? Because I'm not too sure if Keir Starmer is aware or not, but it does get pretty bloody cold in winter. And even though he himself might be able to heat his house and no doubt of course wipe his bum on £5 notes, the rest of the country, especially elderly, might not have such an easy time doing so, and therefore a lot of people do need that winter fuel payments. And yes, I know there'll be people out there who'll say, well, hang on a minute, what about millionaires? And yes, okay, millionaires shouldn't really get it, but to set the barrier at, what is it, £11,000, I think is far, far, far too low, and in my opinion it should be increased to either £20,000 or £25,000. The case, though, apparently asked the court to rule on whether the decision was unlawful, which would then allow the petitioners to ask the court, in effect, to set aside the policy and restore the winter fuel payment to all. And the argument apparently rests on the accusations that both governments failed to adequately consult with those on pension age on the change and did not release the equality impact assessment on the change as well. Could that possibly be that Labour, as far as I'm aware, did do their own bit of research a few years ago when apparently the Tories were considering something similar? And from what I remember, Starmer back then was outraged because of the cuts back then, which are apparently the same. Labour's research apparently said that they could potentially kill 4,000 pensioners. And yet now he's going ahead with it. So does that mean he's okay for that to happen, and the Freedom of Information request revealed that the abridged version of such an assessment had been carried out by the Department for Work and Pensions, the DWP, with the UK government arguing a full study was not required. Well, actually, hang on. That's like, firing a missile and saying, well, where's it going to land? And just saying, oh, somewhere around there. A full study surely should be required. If let's face it, it impacts quite a lot of people's financial circumstances, But just what have the government said about it then? Well, a spokesperson for the UK government said, we are committed to supporting pensioners. Well, could have fooled me, I'm afraid. With millions set to receive their full new state pension, a rise by £1,700 this Parliament through commitment to the triple lock, which sounds good, doesn't it? However, I'm pretty sure this Parliament means while they're in power, and therefore over the next 5 years, when let's face it, who knows how much electricity or heating bills will be by then, But don't worry, because they still say that over 1 million pensioners will still receive the winter fuel payment. There is, however, one problem. Apparently that number who did receive the winter fuel payment before was, from what I've heard, nearly 11 million. So therefore it's pretty much a 10 million cut, and therefore is very unacceptable in my opinion.